I don't want to go.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 saddest TV deaths.
What's your boyfriend's name? The rock star who swam down to the station?
Charlie, what?
Charlie just got us rescued.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most heartbreaking demises of beloved television characters. Brace yourselves, there are major spoilers ahead. Which of these had you reaching for the tissues? Let us know in the comments below. Number 20, Lewis Young, Flashpoint. A Canadian cop drama, Flashpoint focused on a SWAT-like task force called the Strategic Response Unit.
What are you doing?
These mines are plastic. A metal detector won't work. I'm going to use a ground-penetrating radar.
Spike, GPR is not...
Is that something better in your backpack?
One beloved member of the SRU Team 1 was Lewis Young. Lou oversaw the unit's command truck and was distinguished in psychological profiling. Unfortunately, his end came at the hands of a bomb, or more specifically a landmine planted around the bomb itself. In a tear-inducing sequence, Lou calls his parents and sacrifices himself to save the life of Spike, who tried everything he could to disarm the mine. Spike's devastated reaction is enough to melt us all into one giant puddle of sobs. Number 19, Jonathan Kent, Smallville. Perhaps the most successful show in the history of the WB is Smallville. The series serves as Superman's origin story and focuses on the teenage tribulations of his civilian alter ego.
Lana, what I'm about to show you may change the way you feel about me.
Clark, whatever it is, it's okay.
John Schneider plays Jonathan Kent, Clark's highly protective adoptive father. Jonathan's life comes to a tragic end in the series' 100th episode, Reckoning. Jonathan meets with Lionel Luthor, a man Jonathan believed would expose his son's secret. As a result, Jonathan beat Lionel but suffered a fatal heart attack in the process. His death is highly upsetting, but there's at least a little bit of consolation in the fact that Jonathan died protecting his family. He was a great man to the end.
No, Dad!
Dad! Dad!
Dad!
Dad?
No! Oh, please, not yet.
Number 18, Adriana Lacerva, The Sopranos. Considering the show's subject matter, very few characters on The Sopranos are morally pure. Adriana Lacerva, despite her opportunistic and sometimes shallow behaviour, was nothing if not loyal.
Remember my friend Danielle?
She set you up?
She was an FBI agent, Christopher.
At some point, Adriana is targeted by the FBI and forced to work as a mole. She eventually comes clean to Christopher Moltisanti, her then fiancé, and assures him she didn't give up any important information. Rather than try to help her out of the situation, Christopher instead seeks out Tony Soprano, who in turn has Adriana whacked. It's a heartbreaking sequence, not only the way it's filmed and performed, but also because Adriana was coldly disposed of by the people she considered family.
No! 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 No!
Number 17, Howard Hamlin, Better Call Saul. For a while there, this Breaking Bad spin-off was essentially two shows in one. There was the action crime story involving Mike and Gus, and then there was the lawyer drama with Jimmy McGill, soon to be Saul Goodman.
Hello, Lenny. Can I have your left arm?
Of course, what?
Your character has a broken arm now.
Not here. The plot thickens, this changes everything.
But these lines became increasingly blurred as the series progressed, and it culminated in a horrific death. Jimmy's old boss, Howard Hamlin, visits his apartment, only to be met with the notoriously unpredictable Lalo Salamanca. The latter shoots Howard in the head, and his corpse is later buried in the foundation of Gus's famous super lab. It's a dramatic collision of storylines, and it's a sickening end to one of the show's only moral characters.
Okay. Let's talk.
Number 16, Ben Sullivan, Scrubs. This show was filled with death, the saddest of which had to be that of poor Ben Sullivan. Ben, Jordan's goofy brother, initially visited the hospital to treat a hand injury, only to be diagnosed with leukemia.
Ben, you have leukemia.
That sucks.
The famous third season episode, My Screw Up, sees Ben following Dr. Cox around the hospital and being rather jovial all around. But in the infamously sad twist ending, it's revealed that Cox was imagining Ben as a form of grief denial. In reality, Ben had died earlier in the episode. Cox's ultimate realization, the brilliant editing, and the Emmy-nominated writing all combine to create one of television's most devastating sequences. It doesn't help that Ben is played by the enduringly lovable Brendan Fraser.
Where do you think we are?
Your name is the splinter inside me.
Number 15, Bob Newby, Stranger Things. One of Netflix's biggest hits, Stranger Things is filled with captivating characters, and yes, their untimely deaths. Season 4 introduced the widely beloved Eddie Munson, only to ostensibly kill him off with a swarm of bloodthirsty bats.
I love you, Dad.
2 seasons earlier, the same thing happened with Bob Newby. Played by the charming Sean Astin, Bob didn't have a malicious bone in his body, and he helped Joyce and her family heal from the events of the prior season. Of course, we all knew it was too good to be true. After saving the gang in the Hawkins lab, Bob is mauled to death by invading demodogs. His death is brutal, and it takes place right in front of a horrified Joyce. Number 14, Haley Brooks, Criminal Minds. Television shows seem to have a thing for killing off major characters in their 100th episodes. Smallville did it, and so did Criminal Minds. Haley Brooks was the ex-wife of Aaron Hotchner, the head honcho at Quantico.
Your mother tried to protect you from your father, but she wasn't strong enough. And you hated her for that, didn't you? You decided that all women were weak.
Those are your words, not mine.
Unfortunately, she becomes a victim of serial killer George Foyette, who serves as the primary antagonist of the 4th and 5th seasons. Foyette forces Haley and Aaron to say goodbye before killing her, and despite their divorce, the two share loving and sympathetic words that harken back to better days. Even worse, Haley gives her son Jack a tight hug, knowing that she's never going to see him again. It's a beautifully performed sequence that shatters our hearts into a million pieces.
Mommy hugged me too tight.
I'm sorry.
Why are you sad?
Number 13, Wallace, The Wire. David Simon's masterpiece of television, The Wire, serves as an in-depth analysis of what makes a city. It follows various intersecting institutions of Baltimore, including the street-level drug trade.
No more pages. Touts, lookouts, off the air, alright? Nobody gonna use these cell phones except for you and Bodie.
Included in the trade was young Wallace, a starry-eyed dealer who worked for the Barksdale organization. Fearing correctly that Wallace had become a snitch, Stringer Bell orders his death, and it's carried out by both Bodie and Poot in one of the series' most devastating scenes. Wallace was in a bad trade, but he wasn't a bad person, and to see such a pure character getting killed off is difficult to digest. The acting throughout is also mesmerizing, particularly from the young Michael B. Jordan. Number 12, Glenn Rhee, The Walking Dead. This popular zombie show was notorious for killing off beloved characters. Case in point, Glenn.
So, back to it.
He had been a major character since the first season, and his youthful kindness made him an instant fan favourite. He also developed a loving relationship with Maggie, and the two became the beating heart of an otherwise dreary show. This all came to a screeching halt in the 7th season premiere, when we watched Negan brutally dispose of Glenn. Even after we thought we'd become desensitized to the violence, this show proved us wrong, and it left us with nightmares.
What? Was the joke that bad?
Number 11, Marvin Erickson Sr., How I Met Your Mother. Listen, we can get on board with sitcoms that delve into heavier topics, but geez, this one hit harder than we ever expected it to.
He didn't make it.
My dad said?
Marvin Erickson Sr. was Marshall's loving father, and the very embodiment of warmth, invitingness, and support. He's the type of father that people aspire to be, which makes his sudden death all the more tragic. After visiting Marshall in New York and helping him get through a personal problem, Marvin unexpectedly dies of a heart attack. Losing a parent can be difficult, and Jason Segel expertly conveys the shock, sadness, and unbearable sense of loss that comes with it. We just want to reach through the screen and give him a big hug.
I'm not ready for this.
Number 10, Opie Winston, Sons of Anarchy. Why is it always the wholesome characters who get killed off? It makes for great television, yes, but our hearts can only take so much.
What are you gonna do?
Pick the guy.
This FX crime drama follows the titular motorcycle gang, who often serve as anti-heroic outlaws. A kind and loving family man at heart, Opie Winston didn't have the makings of a violent desperado. Opie gets himself thrown in prison with his fellow sons and sacrifices himself to save the others. He is viciously attacked by Damon Pope's men and dies after sharing a touching goodbye with Jax. Jax's own death and that of his wife Tara were also crushing, but it's Opie's demise that really has us reaching for the tissues.
I'll find out who you are and where you live. And then I'm gonna kill you.
Number 9, Mark Green, ER. Medical shows are always filled with heartbreaking deaths. Who wasn't absolutely crushed by George O'Malley's passing on Grey's Anatomy?
When the bargaining has failed and the anger is too hard to maintain, we fall into depression, despair.
But we're giving this spot to ER's Mark Green. Mark was the series' main protagonist until he was killed off at the end of the 8th season. Mark is diagnosed with brain cancer and eventually dies with his daughter Rachel by his side. In a beautifully poetic scene, Rachel plays Over the Rainbow for him, a ballad he used to sing for her as a baby. It's a gorgeous statement of the nature of life and death, and it's a perfect scene to watch if you need a good sob.
Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly.
Number 8, Hank Schrader, Breaking Bad. We all knew that Hank probably wasn't going to see the end credits of Breaking Bad, but it still hurt all the same.
You're the smartest guy I ever met. And you're too stupid to see. He made up his mind 10 minutes ago.
As a DEA agent and brother-in-law of drug kingpin Walter White, Hank provided much of the series' tension. In a show full of villains, anti-heroes, killers, and criminals, Hank was the good guy outlier, which of course meant that he had to die. He is ambushed and killed by Jack Welker, although he remains tough and defiant to the end. Hank doesn't beg for his life, and he doesn't let Jack see fear. We knew it was coming, and we love that Hank stuck to his guns, even if it doesn't make his death any less sorrowful.
Do what you're gonna do.
Number 7, Rita Morgan, Dexter. The Trinity Killer is arguably one of the greatest villains in television history. His subplot is endlessly fascinating, and he's played by the brilliant John Lithgow. And perhaps most famous of all, he kills Rita Morgan.
It's already over. It's already over.
Dexter's love interest and eventual wife, Rita, seemed untouchable, and she helped Dexter discover some semblance of emotion and love. Unfortunately, she becomes the final victim of Trinity. The ending of this episode is a standout for sure. The genuine shock of Rita's death, the haunting visuals, and the thematic resonance of Dexter carrying away his baby all combine to craft an unforgettable piece of television.
But it's my turn now to get what I want. To embrace my family.
Number 6, Joyce Summers, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Even though this classic show was filled with violence against ghouls and monsters, it still found time for the humane. A positive force in Buffy's life, Joyce Summers was affectionate and encouraging.
Gosh, I'd forgotten how much fun dating can be. I don't know. I was standing right here.
I didn't see Prince Charming. I didn't even see a goodnight kiss.
It's also obvious where Buffy got her tenacity, as Joyce is no pushover when it comes to battling the supernatural. And one of the series' biggest surprises, Joyce dies of a brain aneurysm in the middle of the 5th season. It's not often that fictional characters are killed off in such an unexpected and rather natural manner, and the show tackles the tragedy with beautiful grace. Putting aside the monsters, Season 5's The Body is a masterful hour of TV that tackles grief in a wonderfully creative and emotionally painful fashion.
It's not her. She's gone. Where'd she go?
Number 5, Charlie Pace, Jin Soo Kwon, and Sun Hwa Kwon. Lost. This show expertly balanced a mystery-based plot with intriguing character development, which managed to solidify its status as a cultural phenomenon. Unfortunately, 3 of its most popular and lovable characters didn't make it to the end.
There was no funeral, sir, only a viewing. Nobody showed up. Nobody.
Charlie sacrifices himself in the legendary episode Through the Looking Glass and drowns after disabling a signal jammer. Married couple Jin and Sun nearly make it to the finale, but they also drown on Widmore's submarine after Sun gets trapped and Jin refuses to leave her. All 3 deaths are somehow both beautiful and traumatic. Charlie's is a heroic sacrifice, and Jin and Sun's is a lovely encapsulation of their unending devotion to each other.
Please go!
I won't leave you.
Number 4, Bobby Singer. Supernatural. As Sam and Dean's father figure, it was horrible for them to lose him not once, but twice, and then one more time as a ghost. Bobby's first death comes in the 5th season finale, when his neck is snapped by Lucifer.
No! Yes.
However, he is resurrected by Castiel to fight another day. Unfortunately, he lasts just 2 more seasons before he's shot in the head by Dick Roman. Fatally injured, Bobby dies in the hospital after sharing one last heartwarming exchange with Sam and Dean. That alone is enough to have us choked up, but his final memory of his boys is something else entirely. As if that wasn't enough, we have to say goodbye to him all over again a few episodes later.
Last memory, huh? Glad I saved the best for last.
Number 3, basically everyone. Game of Thrones. When it comes to killing off major characters, Game of Thrones is the clear reign.
As we sin, so do we suffer. This man has confessed his crimes in sight of gods and men.
Unlike some imitators who dispose of characters purely for shock value, Game of Thrones always made its deaths feel earned. Sadly, very few heroes are left standing by the end credits. The death of Ned Stark caps the first season in horrifying fashion, and the likes of Robb Stark, Daenerys Targaryen, and Theon Greyjoy follow throughout the series. Even some anti-heroes get worthy and emotional send-offs, including Sandor Clegane. All the online memes you see about everyone dying in this show, yeah, they're all true.
You're a good man. Thank you.
Number 2, The 10th Doctor, Doctor Who. This legendary piece of science fiction ensures that we never grow too attached to one Doctor. There have been many different iterations of the Doctor throughout the years, and all are given worthy send-offs. Still, the departure of the 10th Doctor just hits differently.
Tell you what, I bet you're gonna have a really great year.
Maybe it's David Tennant, or maybe it's the stellar writing that made the 10th Doctor such a 3-dimensional character. His regeneration is absolutely chilling, and made even more so by the admission that he doesn't want to die.
I don't want to go.
This scene conveys the unforgettable reality that death is scary, and many of us will never be ready for it. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Seymour, Futurama. Is it any wonder that one of the saddest deaths in the history of television belongs not to a human, but a dog?
That a boy, Seymour. Right here waiting for me as always. just like that huge mushroom in my shower.
Interestingly, it comes not via a drama, but an animated comedy that sources humour from burps and farts. Matt Groening likes to sprinkle his comedies with bits of devastating sadness, like the infamous ending of Jurassic Bark. Fry believes that his old dog, Seymour, moved on without him once he was accidentally frozen and sent to the future. But in what might be the most gut-wrenching cartoon montage ever made, we see the encapsulation of a dog's loyalty. Seymour waits for Fry, day in and day out, in front of the pizzeria until the passage of time catches up with him. He's just the goodest boy ever.
I'll never forget him, but he forgot me a long, long time ago.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.